All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Yelena. The purpose of today's session is to review the Spark machine learning libraries and to give you some guidance for assignment 2. All right, so here is the agenda. And of course, there are going to be some key reminders. We're going to talk a little bit about the Markdown for Jupyter notebooks, such as table of contents. Then there is a part of the code where most of the people make mistakes, and I'll show you, right? And some part 2 tips. And you're gonna get another example, all right? Now, well, in here you're learning new skills, and new skills are data management, and you're learning how to work in a cloud and the benefits. You're learning how to use services and how to manage resources. So, as you all know by now, you're getting 10 capacity hours per month. So you might be wondering what you're going to do in the next assignment. Well, the next assignment in March, the hours will be reset back to 10. So no worries. Okay, now attention. By no means, please, 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 do not enter the credit card number. Credit card is not going to give you more hours, and then you'll be paid. You will need to pay for the incurred charges, and you will not be able to get assistance because I don't have paid account, right? So it means that I won't be able to help if you enter credit card number. Your account is not going to be academic anymore, and I don't know if there is a way to fix it. Probably not. Okay. Then please do not upgrade your IBM Cloud account. I just talked about that, right? Please make sure to stop the environment before you exit because it will consume hours. So, and it will consume until the session times out. So sometimes you may see you get 10 hours, but you actually consume 100. Why? Because it kept on running until the session timed out, right? So, and you also have to make sure you stop kernel, then stop the environment. And please do not contact IBM. They're not going to do your homework, okay? You need to submit the Salesforce ticket for assistance. Use the form in the classroom. Do not call the help desk. They're not going to help you. All right. So, and always respond to email. In your response, make sure that it has a service desk email. Okay. And then always respond. Let me know if you have further questions or if proposed solution resolve the issue. Okay. Now here you need to upload the data to the project before uploading the notebook. At some point, it did not matter, now it does, right? Do not delete object storage. Do not open two notebooks in edit mode. You're going to be consuming twice. Do not keep cells. When you run a notebook, you need to run it starting from the top, and you need to run all cells. Well, otherwise, you're going to be getting an error, right? If you're not rerunning the code to read data, the data is not read. You're trying to do something with the data that was not read, and you're getting an error. Okay? So make sure that you select correct runtime environment. We are using Spark 3.3 and Python 3.9. Well, at any time, new environment could be added. Okay? Oh, yes, that's correct. In the notebook, you go and select stop kernel. That's correct. Yes. Yes. So you can do that. You can stop the kernel in the notebook, but also when you exit, get into a habit of stopping the whole environment. Right. Well, the thing is, you want to make sure that the environment is not running when you're not using it, right? You run it for as long as you use it. And as you learned from last assignment, you don't have to study the code. Well, you're given examples, right? You run the notebook and then you open it in the read-only mode. There is no need to keep it kernel running, yeah, while you're studying the code, right? You can open it in view mode only. Okay, that's it. Well, markdown cell syntax. Well, there is a certain syntax. Like if you notice that in a Titanic notebook, you have a large big heading. If you double click on the cell, you're gonna see this single hash mark. So this is a level 1 heading. Double hash mark is a level 2 heading, right? Then you get a plain text. And what are those? You have this menu, right? So basically, it's a set of bullet points. Hyphen, right? You put a hyphen. It's just the syntax for the menu, right? And then you're gonna put this in the brackets, right? But what is this? Also, here you put an anchor. It's a location of the unique section in the notebook where when you click on that link, it's a unique section where unique location in the notebook where you navigate to, right? Like see here, ID Titanic data. And when you click on it, it's gonna take you to this spot and I'll show you. And so basically menu, what is a menu? It's nothing but a set of internal links. Each link takes you somewhere in the notebook, to the subsection in the notebook, right? So see the double hash is a subsection, right? Then you also can have the external links. So basically, these you put in the double brackets, it's just a syntax for a link, right? And this is a URL in the parentheses, okay? It's just the syntax. Then you also have the cell syntax, the table of contents, not table of contents, sorry, this table. What is this here in Titanic Notebook? This is table. So you have an opening tag for the table, right? And then somewhere at the bottom, you're gonna have a closing tag for the table, right? Opening, closing. Then you've got table row, right? Which means it opened the row. And then you've got the table data. Table data is a cell in the row, right? So here, for example, the first cell, right? Is the first cell. Then the next cell, it says just variable. So see this over here, the first cell in the first row is intentionally left blank. Then here, right, it says variable, but I want it bold. So this is a B tag, it's gonna put it bold, right? Then another cell, and I put description. Then here, this cell, I wanted to span 7 rows, and I put an image in here. But you cannot copy and paste the image directly. You need to have the image URL, right? So that's image URL, and that's how I put that, right? And it spans 7 rows, so that means the second row is gonna have what? How many stable data cells? It's gonna have one less, right? So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? It's gonna be 3 instead of 4, because that cell here spans across 7 rows, right? So I'm gonna go in the notebook now and show you. But before I did it, I just wanted to talk through, so that way I don't put it in the edit mode for long. Now see that's okay. So that's a notebook. Right now I have to go I'll have to open it in the edit mode to show you how I set up the markdown. So this is a view mode. I need to click on the pencil here. It's gonna be in edit mode. As soon as I do it, it's consuming what? The hours, right? Because I'm starting the runtime, okay? And it says it consumes 1.5 capacity hours. Well, I'm gonna be careful, but I'll show you something. Okay, I'll just show you what I talked about. So it's still loading. Sometimes it could take a little bit more, sometimes it's less. Okay, starting. Okay, here we go. Now, here we go. So see this, if I double click here, this is a level 1 heading, right? So that's a markdown code. And then if I run it, right, I return it back to what you just saw. So this here, the idea is when I click on this link, it's gonna take me to this section of the notebook. When I click here, it's gonna take me to that section of the notebook, right? Okay. So, but how did he do that? It's just this here, right? This is the second level heading, right? So in here, it's taking it to the anchor, and in here, see this is the ID. It's just a section of the notebook where it's taking it to, right? So basically, you almost got it for your second part, except you're gonna do low birth weight data, right? Load libraries, you still have it. You have access data, parse data. See this, you can reuse these headings. These headings can be reused with exception. You're going to change this to low parse weight data, right? All right, and that's if I double click, this is a code for this table. Well, it's just an FYI. I wanted to show you what it does. Okay, just for you, make sure you have this information, right? And of course, when I run it, it will return back to how it looked like, right? Okay, now I need to be very careful. So what I'm gonna do is this. I'm gonna go here, stop kernel, shutdown. Okay, now I go back to here, assignment 2, yeah, leave. Now what I need to do, remember? Well, I can go within this project, manage environment and stop it here. I can do that. Oops, I don't see it. Well, okay, let's just make sure again. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna go in here and then I'll check environmental runtime. See, the thing is, I may sound like I'm paranoid, but no, I want to make sure that I'm not consuming resources when I don't have to be consuming resources. See, I'm not consuming now. Okay, now let's go here. So we are good so far, right? Now, so that was just the syntax. Next thing, parsing data. So basically, the way it's done is that you're reading the data row as a labeled document, right? You want to convert each data row in a CSV file into the labeled document. See, this is a format. Person ID, right? Then person info, and this one, the last one, keep it as label. Do not rename this. So this is where the person ID is here, right? The label consists of 3 parameters. First one is a unique row unique identifier. Next one is a delimited list of predictors, right? So which is passenger class, age, sex. Label is what you are predicting, right? So it has to be either 1.0 or 0.0. 0.0 means passenger died. 1.0 means passenger survived, right? So somewhere in the code, you are calling this, you're calling the function, right? Map parse document. Parse document is a function that you defined and you're calling it, but before you do it, see this, if you look at the file, the first row in the file contains what? The column headings, right? So it contains the column headings. We need to do what? Remove them, right? Filter will remove the first row because see this name is one of the columns. So we want to keep the row so they don't contain the word name, right? So if name, it's one of the columns, right? That's how we identify that that row contains the column headings. And the data is being parsed where? In the data frame, right? But then you need to carefully look at that function, at that custom parser function. Well, I may need to open the notebook in a view mode to show you. So like now, I'll be looking at the code, right? But do I need to actually stare at my code with the notebook in a edit mode? No, I don't, right? I don't need to do that. So that's assignment 2. That's your machine learning. And what I'll do, right? First of all, it's locked. What I need to do is I can unlock it, right? Unlock it. Next thing, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna do view. Why did I do view? Because I want to study the code, but I don't want to run the kernel, right? So here you're defining the libraries. This is the important part. Very important. Most of the students, every single semester, they make mistake in this function when they write part 2 code. Okay. Now here, this will help you. List all columns and their position in a file. Remember that in Python, the positions are numbered starting from 0. So the first column, right, position 0 is a passenger first and last name. Then here is a P class, passenger class. So basically what you do here, you put an index, right? It will be easier to write your function. So here you're returning what? The label document, right? It's returning a label. The label value should be either 0.0 or 1.0. Here we are defining the function. What it does here, it's taking one row, right? And what is a row? It's a delimited list of values, right? Now, here, what is our target? What are we predicting? We are predicting if the passenger what survived or died. The values, actual values of 1 and 0, we need to change them to 1.0 or 0.0, right? So why is it value of 4? Because it's located at the fourth position. If this value is greater than 0 or 1, right, it's 1. Greater than 0, then we're taking what? Survived is 1.0. Otherwise, survived is 0.0. So this is what? This is a label, right? This is a label, the value of the label. Next thing, what is person ID in here? It's a unique identifier. It's located at position 5, right? So we know this guy here, right? It's at position 5, and we've got a label. Next thing, what we need to do, we need to get the text value, right? Person info. I call it text value here. What is this? You have to take, you need to make a delimited list of other columns that you use as predictors. First of all, you're not going to use the passenger first and last name, right? Because they do not determine if the person survived or died, right? And this is a personal identifying information, should not be used for analysis, right? So explain it in the paper, right? So here, you're going to be using the ticket class, right? You're going to be using what else? Age. You're using A class, age, sex. These three, right? So you're taking these three. It's a delimited list here, and it's a text value. There we go. So you've got what? 3 components in here, right? And then if you scroll down, you have a code where this is being called, right? You have a code where you're calling this function, and I think it's far up. Here it is, right? So in here, you're removing the column headings, right? See this? And then after that, here you're displaying the first 5 rows. Okay, so here, if you see the column heading names in the first row, right, of this output, it means you may have done something wrong. Go back and check to make sure that you removed the column headings. Column headings should not be part of this analysis. You remove them right here. See this filter? So first it's going to determine, right, if the row contains name, then its column headings that will be skipped and everything else will be parsed, right? Then what we're doing, remember data 630, right? You split the data into a training set and a test set. Now here it's doing 0.8 and 0.2. You might do 0.7, 0.3. So then you output number of records just for you to check, right? Then you're going to use the training data, right? You use the tokenizer here, and you're using it to do what? To build the model. And you're using the test data to predict to check the model accuracy, right? So remember that if on the training data, the model has 90% accuracy and only 60 on the test data, you might be doing what? Overfitting, right? So just remember that. There is a question on overfitting somewhere, okay? So that was the Titanic data. I went over that. Now let's go here. I mean, so that was so one thing is for part 1, it should be quick. The only thing you need to do in there is the credential. Then you need to put the bucket name, run it, and you need to save the code, right? Save the output as an HTML file. Do it as soon as you're done, because if you run out of hours, you won't be able to do it. you won't be able to put notebook in the edit mode, okay? Well, just to be safe, right? Better be safe, not sorry. Well, see here, this is just how you're using the pipeline. I just spelled it out for you, right? You split data on the training and the test set, and see you have this, the tokenizer split a person info in the words, right? And then you have a hashing function that converts word column, it converts it in the future vectors, and then you call in the function, right? That's what's going on in there. All right, this is very important here. When you reading the data, you want to make sure that you're reading correct data types. So remember, you need to add this line of code. Otherwise, if you have the code that does calculate average age, for example, it's going to calculate the ASCII value, average ASCII value. So, so that's one source of the errors. Then another thing is most of the code errors are in the parser function. So make sure that you use the correct position of the element, right? Most of the students make a mistake, and instead of predicting if the baby was underweight, they are predicting if mother is a smoker. Because what they do is they take this code and without making edits, they just try to feed it into the part 2 data. But in part 1, at position 4, right? That's where the dependent, that's where the survived or died is, right? But in a low birth weight data, at position 4, you see if mother is a smoker. So if you don't edit the code, then you're predicting the wrong column. You're not getting the right result, right? Okay, so just remember that. Now, I'm going to show you another example. You don't need to run it, but I'm going to give it to you. Okay, it's bonus. There are a lot of stuff in there that I want you to walk away with. It's not something that you're asked to do necessarily, but you may discuss it in a section where you're asked to discuss what you can do to improve the accuracy of the model, perhaps, right? Something like that. But I want you, this is something that I'll just show you. I want you to tell it, okay? I want you to just walk away with that. Okay, so there is a Farringham data. The information has patient ID, person, if it's a male or female, age, education. If the person is a smoker, number of the cigarettes per day, blood pressure, if the person's taking blood pressure meds, right? Etc. This is just the medical data. And then you want to predict the 10-year coronary arc of heart disease. So 1 is yes, 0 is no, right? And those are all the columns here, okay? Now, I'll show you what I did. So I'll show you, there are some additional plots. So let's go here, projects, and I'm gonna open notebook in the view mode, and I ran that notebook. I'm gonna give it to you as the output, okay? Okay, that's a Spark, and here's Spark demo. And I'm gonna do, okay, I have to unlock this first. Now what I'll do is I'm gonna do view. I don't need to run the kernel while I'm discussing the code here, right? So what it does here, well here, same table of contents, right? And this picture, loading the libraries here. Now, this is where the parser is. Well, okay, warnings can be ignored right now. This is what I did. Did I copy the code from Titanic data? No. What I did here was I listed all the columns. See this? Starting from position 0. This one is what? Is what I'm trying to predict. So this is going to be a label at position number 16. Here is what? Patient ID, right? It's an ID. And everything else I'm using as predictors. But here I have to be really well, not careful, but I would need to select the subset of predictors, right? Because remember, if you look back to your data 630 class, you talked about the collinearity, right? Well, you want to make sure that the predictors are independent. You want to check the correlations, right? This is what I'm going to do in here too. So in here, I tried different combinations. That's why you see the code commented out. I tried different ones. But here, what I'm doing, I'm checking this one. If see this position number 16, and I'm checking if it's a 0. If it's greater than 0, then it's a 1, right? 1.0, otherwise 0. This is a text value. And this is what I'm trying to predict. And this is, what is this? Unique identifier, right? So I follow this, right? This really helps if you write it like this. Okay. So here I access data. Remember this option infer schema true. You have to do this. Otherwise, when you're looking at something like average age, you will be looking at the average ASCII value of an age instead of age. Then you have to edit this one to 1, right? It's easier to edit it here than to edit the rest of the code, right? So here I'm just exploring the data, right? So, well, nullable, it means that the column allows null values, okay? It's just showing you the data type, etc. And here, just showing you how many patients are in the file. Now here, well, it just described, right? Same things that you saw. And here, I just want to see how many have risk, how many do not. See this, right? So I see the data is unbalanced. Okay. Now here, it just printed the frequency counts, the visualizations, etc. Right? So see that I'm trying to do the average age for each category, right? So here, average age is 54, and here average age is 48, doing the frequency count. But take a look at this. You have many numeric columns in there, right? Do you want to do the frequency? Do you want to write the code for one column at a time? You could, but with 16 columns, it's a lot of work. So just for you, I'll show you what I have written. Well, we'll get there. But before we get there, so see, this is just doing more visualizations. This is how you would check if the columns contain missing values. You convert it to pandas, then you convert it as null and take in sum. So basically, this will give you how many values in each column are missing. There are no, but I'm just put this for you. You will know how to do it, right? If you have to do it in the future at your work or something like that, right? So just the data types, but see this one here, right? This is a number summary, the count, the mean, here just the standard deviation, etc. Right? You have seen it. You may have seen this before in the last assignment, maybe, right? But here you've got more columns, so that's why. Okay. Now, this is a promised code. What it's doing in here, it's a function, and it's taking the data frame. It's taking the list of columns. Then I do the number of rows and number of columns. So we're 16, right? I want to display 3 plots in the same row, right? And that's a number of rows, I specify here. 3 in each row and 6 rows, right? So what it's doing is that it's gonna look through the columns and it's gonna plot one at a time, right? So it's taking it's looking through the column names and it's gonna do all of them. Okay, instead of doing one at a time, you can do all of them. See this? Features, what is features? It's a list of column names, right? So it's taken that, and then it's gonna do, you specify the color and you specify etc., like which color you want to label the column, right? So you will have this code for you. It's just for you to work away with, okay? Then if you wanted to know how to do this pairwise plot, it's here. You need to use the Seaborn package, and that's how you do it. That's for you to have. This is how you do the correlation here. You do this, you call this heat map function. Okay, so annotation equals true because I want to actually show, I want to actually show what the values are, and I specify the line width. So basically, this here, the color code tells you how big the correlation is, right? And correlation values go between -1 and 1, right? So see here, so this is a 1. I want to look at my correlations here, but more likely there is a correlation between number of cigarettes per day and if the person is a smoker, right? More likely, okay? So probably you want to use one column or the other in your analysis. Well, oh yes, I imported the Seaborn, but I already imported it up there, right? So what I did was in here, in here, right? I just put it in here, I believe. So those are the libraries that you need for the heat map. There we go. You need this matplotlib, and you need the Seaborn library. Okay, those are the libraries that you need. I put it here, and I'll give you the slides. So the correlation coefficient shows you the strength of relationship. Okay, excellent. Yes. So this is just for you. If you have hours left, throw it in there. But if not, then it's okay. That's something that you could discuss in the paper. That to improve the accuracy of the model, I could look at the correlations, right? I could look at that, see? And that's why I tried different combinations because, well, you can see that if somebody is a smoker or number of cigarettes per day, right? You can use one of those. Well, then if somebody has diastolic blood pressure high, probably they're gonna have a systolic high, right? Well, things like that. Okay, so those are just additional visualizations. Here it just, well, remember what is this? This is a bucket name, and bucket name needs to be enclosed in single quotes. Otherwise, it will be an error when you run the code. You're creating the data frame, you are parsing the data, you split data into training and test set, you're building a model, you're doing the predictions, right? And you're checking the accuracy of a model. One thing I need to tell you is this: area under the ROC curve always is between 0.5 and 1. If your area under the ROC curve is 0.2, it means that something is wrong. You need to recheck, okay? Maybe you need to use 0.7 and 0.3 split, or somewhere maybe you may have forgotten to, well, you may have forgotten to remove the column heading. That's possible too, right? So you do the ROC curve plot, etc. Okay? But please remember, most of the errors happen where? In the parser function. So another thing is that you may want to, when you work on the part 2, you may want to use any of the notebook editors. Some of you are familiar from prior coursework, right? So you only put this in edit mode when you have to, right? You might want to prepare the code ahead of time and then only run it when you have to. You don't have to run the kernel as you're actually working on your code. You want to save hours, right? So for those of you who are very low on hours, well, you might still be able to do part 1, right? So do part one, work on write-up and work with instructor, okay? Work on, discuss the options with instructor. Well, you cannot add hours, unfortunately, and the workaround that we had last semester no longer exists. The IBM's rule is this: each student gets one and only one code per calendar year, okay? So next December, you can get another code and apply to extend your access. If you still have access to your student email, you can extend and continue, okay? And so you got that, right? So those are the libraries. That's for the heat map, and that's how it looks like, right? Then you need to save the notebook. Well, it's better to save it as PDF. So you first save it as HTML, right? And then the HTML file can be saved as PDF, right? That's another example where they use pipeline. Another thing I wanted to do is I wanted to go over the ungraded exercises from last assignment, right? So you had a graded exercise where you were asked to list the employee salary, right? You were asked to list the employee salary and how many people get each salary, something like that, right? Now you want to list the same information, but within department. So what are you going to do is you have to show department and you have to show the salary, right? And you're gonna show the count, how many. Very important, you have to put the group by. And the columns that you list in the group by are the columns that you're not aggregating, right? So those are the grouping column because you're counting based on what? Department and the salary in each department, right? So department and salary are the grouping columns, okay? Now, why do I convert to the uppercase? Because I want to make my sorting case insensitive. Take a look at this. Some departments, right? They start like IT. See, this I is uppercase. Mark, this is management, right? See this? But the problem is if I don't convert it to the uppercase, it will not be alphabetized correctly. So for the purpose of alphabetizing, you put this uppercase function, okay? And this is just the output, all right? Then to work on this exercise, set the stage for the next exercise because next exercise just adds one level difficulty, right? It wants to list also the attrition, right? So you have department, you have salary, and then you've got one more column, right? You need to make sure that you add this column to the group by clause. This is a common error, right? And you're sorting by department. Again, you're taking it to the uppercase because you want the sorting to be what? Case insensitive, okay? And that's the output, all right? Exercise 3 is a little bit harder. There is more than one way to do that. So you know that if the column value attrition is a 1, it means that the person left the company. If it's a 0, then the person did not leave the company. If I take the sum, right, I'm gonna know how many people left. Count is gonna give me total number of people. But if I take the difference, count minus sum, it's gonna give me how many people stayed, okay? And that's what it is. So this is the whole idea. I want to list one row for each department. Then in next column, I want to list how many left, how many stayed, and then how many people total, right? So the total should, these two numbers here should add up, right? Left plus stayed should be equal total. If not, then something is wrong. Then there is another way to do that. Oops, okay. So this is another way to do that. You can use the case statement, okay? This is a case statement. It's taking a sum. So here, you want to, if attrition is 0, right, then the person is retained. See? She says if attrition is 0, then 1, otherwise 0. So she says is I taking a sum, but they're actually recording that column. So you can record that column as 1 or 0. It's already given to you, but when you do your next assignment, right, in the next assignment, there are ungraded exercises where it's not a 0 and 1. You're going to need to use a case statement. Okay, you can use a case statement here. You will see something similar again. It will come up as ungraded exercise in the next assignment. And next assignment, you will use the DB2 and R. DB2, I'm going to recheck again, but as far as I know, it did not consume the hours. So you will have ungraded SQL exercises. Excellent opportunity. Next assignment, right? So, and because DB2 does not, I'm going to recheck if it's still the case, but it did not consume the hours. All right. So this is what you're gonna do. Do assignment 2. If you totally run out of hours on assignment 2, what you want to do, well, for next assignment, you still will be able to start working on it, because part 1, the first part is gonna be the DB2, right? And as far as I know, it did not consume the hours. So if you could do that, right? And then do the R in March. R consumes 1 hour per clock hour, right? It's a little bit less. But this one, it consumes 1.5. So you need to be really careful. But trust me, nobody is going to write the code here for 6 hours, right? For 6 clock hours. So just be careful and watch out. Right? And you know, when you need help, you know how to submit the ticket, right? So now I want to see what questions you have. Please, you may unmute yourself and ask question, or you may put question in the chat, whichever way works for you. I want to see your questions. And no worries, there is no impact on a grade. So no worries.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got a question. So we're
Yes.
using this now, then we're using DB2, and then we're using R. And
Well, DB2 and R, yes, R Studio in a, you'll be using, yes, DB2 R Studio on IBM Cloud, yes. That's the next assignment. Assignment 3,
Oh,
yes.
but they're all in the same engine, right? Or am I missing something?
Well, yes, well, assignment 3 will be DB2 service on an IBM Cloud, and also the R, because if you go look at this in the project, yes, if you look in the project, you'll see that here. So I'm in the project right now. And if you go, there is an option to start, see this one here. Yes, this one, you'll use that one. And
Okay.
that one consumes, yes, it consumes 1 hour, but in March, you're gonna get back to 10 hours. You're gonna get them back in March. In fact, late evening on February 28th, the hours will be credited back. So, and the DB2, but I'm gonna retest everything again. Yes, this weekend, yes, I will retest everything again for any changes or anything like that. But there will be a video on what to do to load data. You're gonna get data. You will see there will be instructions. So nothing to worry about. And the R code will be given. So for the tutorial, you would need to just run the given R code, just get a feel for it, right? And make sure what you will do, you will upload the data file into the project, right? And you'll be reading the data in R from this project, right? That's the second part. First part will be DB2. So, I mean, don't worry about it. There will be instructions, right? So get assignment 2 done, right? And next one, first there will be tutorial. Once you submit it, there will be actual assignment 3. Based on what students told me, they say that assignment 3 is the hardest in a program. I don't know. but this is what people told me, but I don't want to scare you. But in the end, everybody does well. So A or B in the end. So, but don't worry about it. I mean, if you follow instructions, if you do what you have been doing, you should be fine, right? So, no worries, right? But how many of you have finished assignment 2? Not many? Are you done with assignment 2? No? No problem.
I'm almost done with it. Got like one research question left, but it took a
This
lot
is
of time.
excellent. Because, well, what happens is that when you leave things to the end, the code stops working because when we get nervous, it's hard to focus, we make mistakes, we run out of hours, right? So I do not recommend waiting until the end. Just try to have everything done at least 24 hours before it's due, because you never know. Power outages, anything could happen. So do not, because things pile up, the work piles up in this course in no time, right? It's hard to catch up. So just make sure you follow instructions, you'll be okay, right? Yeah, go ahead. Anything else?
Yeah, I have a question, and I guess something I would like you to look into. I've noticed that when I was using the IBM Cloud, that my hours actually have been going up, like day by day, which makes me think, are we actually given the 10 capacity hours continuously, as opposed to say 10 at a time? Because I noticed I did the exercise, the tutorial Spark for Spark on January 30th or 31st. And I
Oh,
used like 2 hours or something, but then I didn't get it back when February came. And then I noticed throughout February, my hours also sort of went up. So I'm wondering, like, can you look
what time?
into
What
if,
time did you do it? Because there is a cutoff time. It goes,
oh,
you know,
around 9 o'clock p.m.
oh yeah, that's why. 9 p.m. Yes, there is a time. It's on a certain time zone. I don't you just see time zone? The time
Uh,
several hours ahead of us, yes.
okay, so I even though it was January 30th or 31st on my time, it was already February for IBM.
Yes.
Okay, and then but during February though, I have noticed my hours seem to be going up, not a lot, like 0.3, 0.4 capacity hours. Can you look into why that may be the case?
Well, because if you are running the code, you're using up the hours. Yeah, they're going up.
Right,
Of course.
but the hours should be going down. Why are they going up?
Okay, there are two columns. First column, it shows the hours that you consumed, right? It
Yes.
will go up. The hours that you consume will go up. What should go down?
No, I know that. I'm saying my hours consumed stays, well, it stays the same, but then the remaining amount is sometimes goes up. So it will show like I used right now I have used up 5.1 hours, and then it would have 4.9 remaining, and then maybe a day or two later it would have 4.8 hours used and 5.2 hours remaining. Like it would change.
I've seen that jump also.
Oh, that's interesting. I have not seen that. I have not seen that on mine. Well, if you have seen it, edit to use and you want it.
Okay, but regardless though, when March comes or February 28th comes, we will get all 10 hours back.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
You will get, but the hours that are not used will not be carried forward. That's the thing too. Like
Yes.
yes, like for example, suppose that today is February 28th and I have 6 hours left here. Those 6 hours I cannot carry them to March. That's the thing. So the smart thing to do was to do this assignment in January, the first assignment, right? That saves you all hours for this for assignment. Because see, the assignment, you had 1 week in January, 1 week in February, right?
Yes.
So some people chose not to, you know, well. mm, you know,
Okay, well, I mean, that's really all I had to ask. Basically, so we'll get 10 hours back regardless. And sometimes our hours may jump, but it's good for us. It doesn't really affect how the distribution of hours works.
Well, if the jobs are excellent, I would not, I would be, I would sit quiet, quiet, quiet. I would not complain.
Okay, all right.
No worries, no worries. I have no control over it, but I'm just saying I wouldn't feel like it. No, but I mean, really, that's what they did. There's a rule. One code for one person for 1 calendar year and 10 hours. Used to be 50.
Okay,
Yeah, but people abused it. That's a problem.
all right.
Yeah, people ran things, and a long time ago was unlimited, but people were running things, consuming resources, not thinking. That's what it was. You know, it's like running a furnace with all windows open, you know, wasting electricity. All right. Any more questions? I like questions.
I have another one that's more specific to the assignment.
Mhm.
So it's for part 3 on the research question. The
Yes.
very last one that asks us to compare and contrast the 4 different programming languages. Is that only asking in terms of how it is used in Spark, or is that like the pros and cons of the languages in general?
The pros and cons.
Of
Like,
the languages
yeah,
overall, or just in terms of
well,
Spark?
you want to look at the speed, at the number, how big the code is, if it's if it can run across different platforms, which language is easier to learn, you know, those things.
Okay, so it's more in general as opposed to,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. Like here we use Python, right? But
Yes.
yes, but why would you use R instead sometimes? You know, you want to compare this. Oh, it says with Spark. Sorry. Okay, with Spark, yes. Yeah, but still, you want to look at, even if it's with Spark, you want to look at the speed, you want to look at how easy it is to learn, right? Things
Okay.
like that, yes. Well, this is what I would have looked at if I was writing this.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, while you will use, discuss the pros and cons. Yes, exactly. Yes. With Spark. Oh, yeah, with Spark. Correct. It's with Spark. I did not see the question first. Okay. Yes, it is with Spark. Yeah, but still you want to look at which language is easier to learn, and you want to look at in terms of like writing code, right? Number of lines in the code. You want to look at the speed as well, right? Things like that. Right? Does it help?
Yes, thank you. That helps. I was just writing it down.
Mhm. Anything else? Oh, another thing that's not to do is do not write the paper as copy and paste paragraphs from the web. One person did something like that last semester. No good. Please don't do that. Turnitin catches it. So, no. That's one reason why people cannot pass when they write paper is copy and paste paragraphs from the web. This is a no-go, you know that, right? So please don't do that. Okay.
Thanks, Elena.
You're
Very
most
helpful.
welcome. Any other questions? That's an opportunity to ask questions. right? You all want to get an A or B in the assignment. It's a big assignment. And this assignment due date marks half of the semester. So, all right, so let me see in the chart. Can you go over parsing section again? Sure. So, yeah, so which one you want me to look at CHD notebook, parsing function, or Titanic? Which notebook do you want me to go over? I'm giving you a choice here. Oops. Where's the chat? Which notebook? Well, basically, because the idea here is that the parser function, what it does, it creates what? Label document, right? So let's see, let's go to this here, and I'm gonna go to the project, view all projects, right? View all project, and that's assignment 2. And I'll open it in a view only. So here it is, right? Basically, what I did was parser function. First, you need to do the preparation, right? I was talking about the differences in Titanic and low birth weight. Yes, okay, sure. So what you're doing here for Titanic data, right? You're gonna do the same thing for low birth weight. This is what you're gonna do. You're gonna list the columns here. You're gonna list the columns here, right? In this case, it's a passenger first name, ticket, class, age, sex, survived, person ID, right? In the low birth weight data, column names are different, number of columns is different, and the positions are different, right? So person ID here is an identifier. In this example, it's in position 5. In low birth weight data, the position is going to be different, right? What some people do is they don't change this piece here. Okay, but if you look at it, the column that you're predicting here is located at position 4. In low birth weight data, the column at position 4 is if mother is a smoker. So if you do not edit this function for the low birth weight data, you will be predicting if mother is a smoker instead of what you should be predicting, right? And if you do that, then all your results are incorrect. The paper is incorrect, okay? So you need to make sure, save yourself time, list like this here. So you're gonna know the position where the identifier is located, right? You're gonna know the position where the target is located. This is like survived. It's at position 4. This is values of 4. And I'm doing that here, doing this logic here. And then you're gonna know in which positions the predictors are, right? So this is what you do, write it this way here. That will save you a lot. And then do this. There are gonna be more columns. The columns that you are predicting is not at the position 4, it's different, right? I hope it helps. Does it help? You will need to edit this. Then remember, there is no column called name, right? The column is different. Axis over here, it's calling this parser function. But in here, in this file, there is a column called name. There is no column called name in the other data, right? In the R2 data. There is a difference, so you would have to change this here, right? Then take a look at this. When you output the first 5 records, if you see the column names in the first row, it means that something is wrong. You would need to go back and edit this here, okay? Just make sure that the code removes the column names correctly. Okay, see, so this is like a check. First 5 records, right? I hope that helps. Does it help? Christine, I want to make sure that it helps. I want to make sure that everybody's questions are answered. Okay, no problem. Yes. So, yeah. Anyone else? This is an opportunity. Please take advantage of this opportunity. I'm here to help you. Okay? More questions? Let's see the chat. Do you happen to have an example of using? Oh, for the binning? What do you mean by binning? Brandon, do you mean discretization? No, we don't have it here. But I can look it up. We don't do that. But why would you want to do this? Any good reason? Oh, okay. Well, just think about it. Oh, you want to discretize age? Okay, I see. Makes sense. Well, yeah, we need to look it up. Sorry, I don't have that example. I do not. Okay. Anything else? No? Going once? Going twice? Well, if there are no more questions, I'm gonna end the recording. And once the recording finished processing, I'm gonna send this to professor and I'm gonna send all the files. Okay? So I'm gonna go stop the recording and stop share. Oh, wait, do you have another question? No, okay. Okay. Stop the recording.